If you're over 50, this video might shake you, not in a bad way, but in the kind of way that makes you sit still and think. Because there are some regrets that people never say out loud, not to their families, not to their friends, not even to themselves, but in their quietest moments, they whisper them. And today, we're going to bring them into the light, not to feel sad, but to make sure you don't carry them too. Let's begin. When you're younger, someday feels like a promise. Someday I'll travel. Someday I'll write that book. Someday I'll fix things with my sister. But time isn't a bank account, and someday doesn't always arrive. A man named Richard kept a list, a real handwritten list of things I'll do when I retire. It had over 50 dreams on it. Ride a horse in Montana, take his wife to Venice, learn to play the piano, apologize to his brother. But when he finally retired at 68, his wife was already sick. Travel was hard. His brother had passed. His fingers ached too much to play. He looked at the list and said, "This isn't a bucket list. It's a graveyard of postponed dreams." What's on your list and what's stopping you? You don't need to wait for perfect. You just need to start small and start now. You don't lose people all at once. You lose them in little ways. The call you meant to return, the birthday you missed, the apology you never gave. Until one day, it's been years, and there's a silence that wasn't always there. I once asked a woman in hospice what she missed the most. She didn't even blink. Laughter, the kind that hurts your stomach. The kind that only comes when you're with the people who really know you. And then she said, "But I let them go. I was too proud to apologize, too busy to reach out. And now, it's quiet." When you think of someone, call them. Don't wait for their birthday. Don't wait for a tragedy. Connection isn't built in big moments. It's built in the little ones, over time. We spend decades chasing things. The promotion, the bigger house, the newer car, and we forget why we started. Until one day, you look around and realize none of it filled the space inside you. Here's a question few people ask themselves. If everything I have disappeared tomorrow, what would I still be proud of? Not the house, not the job title, not the expensive watch, but moments like sitting in the backyard, coffee in hand, watching the sun rise, holding your grandchild for the first time, laughing so hard you cried. We were never meant to measure life by accumulation, but by presence. Strip it all away. What's left? That's what matters. Sometimes the deepest pain isn't from what we said, but from what we didn't say. A man I once spoke with lost his wife after 45 years of marriage. He told me, "I wish I told her more. I said I love you when I had to. Birthdays, anniversaries, but not every day, not enough." And then he whispered, "I thought she just knew. But what if she didn't?" Silence may feel safe, but love, real love, is noisy. It shows up. It speaks up. Don't assume they know. Tell them while you still can. Fear wears many disguises. What if I fail? What will people think? I'm too old for that, and it always sounds reasonable at the time. But fear is not a wall. It's a fog, thick, heavy, paralyzing, but only until you take one step, then another. Then it clears. One woman I knew always wanted to start a garden. She kept saying, "I have no green thumb. I'll fail." One day, at 72, she planted a single tomato. By 75, her backyard was full. Tomatoes, cucumbers, roses, herbs. And you know what she said? It wasn't about the plants. It was about proving to myself that fear isn't the end. It's just the beginning. We don't realize how precious something is until it becomes work. You don't notice your hands until opening a jar hurts. You don't notice your knees until stairs feel like Everest. You don't notice your breath until you lose it. But here's the truth. Every glass of water, every walk in the park, every deep breath of fresh morning air, that's not small. That's sacred. Start honoring your body now. because your future self is depending on you. Age is a number, regret is a weight, and the saddest thing is believing you can't begin again. Carl was 83. He always wanted to write, but he told himself no one wants to read an old man's thoughts. His granddaughter challenged him, write just one page. For me, he wrote, then another, and another. By 86, he self-published a small memoir. It didn't go viral, it didn't hit bestseller lists, but every one of his grandkids now owns a copy. He said, I didn't write it for the world, I wrote it for them, and that made it worth it. It's not too late to start, it's too late to wait. Legacy isn't about what you leave behind, it's about what you leave within others. Wisdom, kindness, stories, strength. One elderly woman began recording herself reading children's books. She sent them to libraries, schools, her grandkids. After she passed, those recordings lived on, still comforting little ones, still making them smile. She didn't just leave memories, she left a voice. What will your voice echo after you're gone? Start speaking now. So here's the question. When your final day comes, what do you want to say? Not just, I lived, but I chose, I loved, I dared, I left something better behind. You don't need to climb Everest. You don't need to be famous. You just need to be real. Live in such a way that when your story ends, it doesn't feel unfinished. Because the story isn't over yet, and you still hold the pen. Bonus chapter, The Chair by the Window. There's a quiet room on the 4th floor of a care facility in Ohio. Plain beige walls, one bed, a single dresser, and a chair, old, wooden, creaky, placed just so, beside the window. That chair belonged to Walter. Walter was 91. He had outlived his wife, his 2 brothers, and most of his friends. He had bad knees, a pacemaker, and a drawer full of medications with names too long to pronounce. But every morning, like clockwork, he'd shuffle to that chair and sit, wrapped in a thin blue blanket, tea in hand, looking out over a small garden, not saying much, just watching. I visited him once a week for nearly a year, and every time I found him there. Same spot, same soft smile, same stillness, like he was listening to something only he could hear. One day, I finally asked him, Walter, what do you think about when you sit here so long? He took a slow breath. His voice was thin, but steady. I think about all the things I chased and never caught, all the people I loved, but never told. I think about the days I spent angry over nothing, and how many beautiful moments I ignored just because I was in a hurry. He looked out again, eyes distant. But mostly, I think about how much of life I missed while I was busy trying to get somewhere, and how quiet everything becomes once you finally arrive. He told me something else that stuck with me ever since. When I was younger, I measured my life in accomplishments. Now, I measure it in mornings. Walter used to be an accountant, meticulous, always early, always calculating. He once said, I spent 40 years managing other people's money and almost no time managing my own joy. After his wife passed, he started writing. Not for publication, not for fame, just little letters. To his daughter, his grandson, a childhood friend in Oregon he hadn't spoken to in 30 years. Each one ended with a short line. Don't wait until the chair. I asked him once what he meant by that. He leaned closer and said, this chair is where I finally slowed down, where I forgave people who never apologized, where I remembered birthdays I never called, where I cried for things I pretended didn't hurt. It's where I finally saw my life, after it had already passed. He paused. I just wish I'd found that kind of stillness sooner. What Walter taught me. Walter never climbed a mountain, he never ran a marathon, he never made millions, but he found something bigger, the courage to be still, the humility to reflect, the grace to let go. He didn't die bitter, he died peaceful, because in those final months he didn't wish for more time. He simply cherished the time he had on purpose. And maybe that's the real goal, not to live forever, but to live fully while we're here. You don't have to wait for the chair. Here's what I want to say to you. If you're still reading this, don't wait until your body slows down to realize your heart has been whispering the truth all along. Don't wait for the diagnosis, the loss, the silence. You can start now. Sit by your window. Breathe in the morning. Say what's unsaid. Forgive without being asked. Hug longer. Call first. Laugh louder. Make this moment the one where everything shifts. Because the truth is, we all have a chair by the window waiting for us someday. But what if you didn't wait until you had no choice to finally live by choice? Walter's chair is still there, empty now, but bathed in light. A reminder that reflection isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of a better one.